This is the way nightmares begin, or perhaps end.
And this is the way to the answer that we have been seeking.
We're looking at gift horse in the mouth.
Where the final piece is for us to find the greatest twist in horror.
One of their representatives is on his way to this building.
Delivered to us by a group of mysterious beings for better or worse.
Precisely what are your motives in coming here quite uninvited?
It's up to us to discover why they have brought us this gift.
We ask only that you trust us. Only that you simply trust us.
And to decipher the meaning of the book they left us, a book titled
To Serve Man. I hope so.
But before we enter the Twilight Zone, I first need you to... Of course, a spam caller. Sorry, but before we enter the Twilight Zone, I first need you to imagine that you're watching your favorite YouTuber. It's like they know when I'm recording. They always have to interrupt at the worst... Oh no. Oh, no. The terrifying truth is that these scammers will continue calling you because they already know your name, your phone number, your address, and so much more of your personal information. And even though you wish to keep all of that private, data brokers are looking to make money off of you. And they already are because they're selling your information to the highest bidder, whether that's advertisers looking to completely fill all of your inboxes with spam, or even to somebody that just wants to be you by stealing your identity. But luckily there's Incogni that can take care of all of these problems on your behalf, because it is a headache to try to do it on your own with just how many sites already have your information. As soon as you sign up, they reach out to hundreds of these data brokers, submitting all of the right paperwork to finally get your personal information removed from their sites. And the best part is that you can get 60% off of an annual plan when you sign up with my code PolterGibbst at incogni.com. That's incogni.com/PolterGibbst, where you can try Incogni for 30 days risk-free with their money-back guarantee. Seriously, it's terrifying just how much of your information is already out there, but now you have a way to get your privacy back with code PolterGibbst. The episode opens with Mr. Michael Chambers here lying within his very own chamber, where he has nothing to do except for smoke, as a voice then asks him what food does he want to eat. And Mr. Chambers' irritation is immediately clear to us, as not only does he throw his cigarette on the floor, but he also tells the voice,
I should take a flying jump at the moon.
But the voice just asks him to repeat his request for what food he wants, and Mr. Chambers just tells him to leave him alone because he's not hungry right now. So with a bit of silence, Mr. Chambers begins pacing back and forth in his room and even slamming his hand against the door, but the voice doesn't comment on this outburst that he has. Instead, it saves it for when he starts to use the sink, then chiming in to tell him that he needs to conserve water. All he wants is a little to wet his face and try to wash off some of the stress that he has from being in this place. It's as he lays down again that he asks what time it is, and we find out that he is in space and there's no time in space. So being even more irritated, he clarifies and asks what time it is on Earth, and interestingly enough, the voice doesn't ask for a time zone. Instead, it just tells him that it's 12 o'clock noon, letting us know that not only does the voice know Mr. Chambers' name, but also exactly where he is from.
This is the way nightmares begin, or perhaps end.
It's here that we begin hearing Mr. Chambers' thoughts as he takes us through everything that led him up to this point in the exact moment that they all messed up. Because they were all too busy thinking about the moment that they were in, instead of even considering just a little bit farther into the future before them, focusing on the clock when they should have been looking at the calendar. He then takes us back to a day in April when everything changed, because that was the day when an alien species known as the Canamints landed on Earth. And it's here that we pick up at a United Nations meeting that we find out that these Canamints have landed all over the globe, but according to all reports, they have no reason to believe that they are hostile in any way. So for now, they are just urging everyone to not make any moves against them, but wait to see why the Canamints have landed. Almost immediately, the Secretary General is swarmed by reporters trying to ask as many questions as they can about these aliens, but before any answers can be given, we get the news that one of their ships has landed just down the street and that
one of their representatives is on his way to this building.
With no hesitation, the response to this is overwhelmingly positive. Everyone is excited to finally see one of these Canamits and find out why they are here. Until this Canamit steps into the room and everyone becomes quiet. And they also begin to grow uneasy under this large being's opposing shadow.
Respectfully submitted for your perusal, a Canamit.
Height a little over 9 feet, weighing around 350 pounds, from a planet that we're not sure where it is, but the real question is, what are their motives for being here on Earth? That's the big question that we need to find an answer for, because
This is the Twilight Zone.
with the whole world looking on, the Canamit begins speaking to the people of Earth, first assuring that they do come in peace from a planet far away from this galaxy, and then explaining that the way they communicate is mental and not verbal, and that's the reason that the voice that they're hearing is not coming from his mouth, but instead is purely mechanical. But it's this voice that tells us that they are here to help the people of Earth and even set up a transportation system between their planet and ours. It's here that Mr. Chambers begins speaking again, but this time it's directly to us.
Perhaps you watched this initial questioning. Most people on Earth did.
This is the only episode of The Twilight Zone that someone other than Rod Serling directly addresses the audience. And it's through this that Mr. Chambers gives us some more information about what happened that day, as well as his thoughts on the human race as of this moment. Many questions were asked and answered on this day, since it's so hard for us as humans to understand why this race of aliens would be willing to show up and freely help us. And in the words of Mr. Chambers, we as humans are not nearly as accustomed to charity as what we are to brutality. And it's this reason that the Secretary General has to ask,
Would you be willing to be interrogated here and at this time?
The Canamit agrees, and the questioning begins, with the first one being from Argentina, simply asking why they chose Earth out of all of the planets. With a very big and yet straightforward answer, the Canamit just says that they are there to help, because Earth has had a lot of disasters, both natural and man-made, and they know how to prevent all of them to make Earth a much better place. The next question is from France, and it's a follow-up to clarify exactly what this help would look like and what would happen if a nation decides not to accept their help. Again, the Canamit's response is clear that they will offer a variety of ways that they can help, and it's completely up to anyone to choose whether or not they want to accept or reject it without fear of any negative consequences. Then the Canamit explains that their first step will be to provide a new power source that is able to power entire countries for only a few dollars. This is when we get the most important question yet from the Soviet Union.
Precisely what are your motives in coming here quite uninvited?
And if there is an ulterior motive behind these kind actions. The Canamit reassures everyone listening that they don't have any ulterior reason for being there, and that it should be very clear soon that they really are there to help. From solving world hunger by putting certain elements into the soil, to even adding force fields to every nation to protect everyone from any attacks.
We ask only that you trust us. Only that you simply trust us.
It's here that the Canamit leaves behind a book without a word to what it's about. And again, Mr. Chambers gives us some more information about the state of the world and just how hopeful everyone is in this moment. Everyone except for a few, of which he is a part of, because his task as a decoding specialist for the US government is to decipher the meaning of this book. And only 8 hours after he's been given this task, he's already being asked what he has figured out about this book. But Mr. Chambers has to remind these colonels just how long it took them to decipher the secret messages that the Japanese had during World War II. and also that they had a much bigger team than what he currently does. The real problem is that these Canamints are so much smarter than any human and far more complex that they're not even sure how their language works yet. With some more questions from the colonels, Mr. Chamber just tells them that he's going to need more time and more help to figure out anything. But then he asks them, why is it so important? And it's because the White House believes that if they can decode this book, they will finally know the true intentions behind why the Canamints are here.
Obviously nothing but our good.
After all, the Canamints haven't even said anything about them having this book, so what could be so important within it that it's not even a concern? According to one of the colonels, this is all just parlor tricks, but Mr. Chambers disagrees, especially after this new nitrate trick that they added into the soil down in Argentina that has made the entire land extremely fertile. It's basically created the perfect place to grow anything, and Mr. Chambers is even more impressed because he knows Argentina.
That's as barren and fruitless as any place on Earth.
It's this line that fully tells me that we really are in the Twilight Zone. There's been a few other small things up to this point, like aliens landing on the planet looking to offer help to humans, or the UN guards carrying firearms during the meeting. But here he says that Argentina is barren, even though here in reality, Argentina has the thickest layer of fertile soil on the whole planet and is always ranked among the highest producers of everything from wheat to soy to fruits and vegetables and even cattle, and is very far from being barren. Now, I found this fact under the Goofs portion of IMDb, and it's led me wrong before, so I was thinking maybe that Argentina was just different in the 1960s, which led me down this rabbit hole of learning all about the agricultural history of Argentina. And after about a 2-hour learning session, I found that they did have really good soil back in the 1960s, and it got even better over the years once they adopted a no-till method. So I can confirm that this is the Twilight Zone. You're welcome. But it's all of these questions about the Canamints that causes Mr. Chambers to have a funny feeling.
We're looking at a gift horse in the mouth.
But not only that, he also has a feeling that if these Canamints are really as helpful as they seem, that both the colonels and himself will be out of the job very soon. At this, the colonels just tell him that until that moment happens, he just needs to do his job and figure out exactly what this mysterious book says. And it's just then that Patty comes running in with the news that they have deciphered what the title of the book is.
To serve man. I hope so.
A week passes and there's another meeting held at the United Nations where they show everyone in attendance a recording of one of the Canamints taking a lie detector test to prove to everyone on Earth that they really are there to just help. After a short explanation of how the system works, they then test the test to ensure that the test will test correctly on a Canamint, with the Canamint first answering these basic questions incorrectly, causing the lie detector to react because it detected a lie, then answering correctly with no reaction from the equipment. With everything seeming to be in order, they proceed with the experiment by first asking the question that was asked in the last meeting of what the Canamints' real motives are for helping.
The peace and plenty which we ourselves enjoy.
Just as they've done for many other planets throughout the galaxy, and their reward will be that Earth will no longer have any wars, hunger, or needless suffering. But this is where the problem is. Because a lie detector is supposed to work off of simple answers, and that's why normally you see people getting asked yes or no questions. Instead, the Canamint gives this very long answer to why they are there, which would not cause the lie detector to react the way that it needs to. But hey, at least it's the same answer they gave last time, and it does sound good to everyone that hears it, leading to many nations openly thanking them and considering the Canamints friends because everything that they said that they would do, They did. Deserts became these luscious fields that were able to grow anything, and all wars ended because of the force fields that were provided by the Canaanites.
Armies and navies were practically disbanded.
And a transportation system was established between Earth and the Canaanites planet, which many people have already used to go and visit their planet, with many more people lining up every day to make the trip. It's from a conversation between some of the people waiting in one of these lines to board a ship that we learn more about the Canaanites planet. A constant 76 degrees Fahrenheit where the sun never goes down, and all visitors get to go on a free shopping spree when they first arrive. It's here that we see a part of the boarding process, as one of the Canaanites has set up a scale to weigh each passenger before they are able to get onto the ship. And we also find out in a moment that there is a wait list to even get to this point. And that wait list has apparently become really long because
it's just one big holiday when you get there.
And from the way it looks at Mr. Chambers' job, you would assume that everyone is currently on holiday. Because after all, there's no longer a need for them to decipher anything. There's no more wars, there's no more insurrections, and there's no reason to have any secret messages. The only thing left for them to even do is to finish translating the book to serve man. But even the importance of that has fallen away, because now there's only a couple people left working with Mr. Chambers to solve this final mystery, and work is probably too strong a word for what they're doing. Patty is still here though, and it's from her asking just how many Canaanites are now on Earth that we find out that there are a few thousand, and that
They've got embassies in every country now.
Mr. Chambers also mentions that for every one of them that arrives on Earth, a few thousand Earthlings leave to go to their planet. And he's just amazed at how quickly humans can adjust to such drastic changes, from 1 year ago, with the arrival of aliens being the biggest event in all of human history, to now with people lining up to visit a different planet galaxies away and treating it as a weekend trip. It's at this that Patty asks him the big question, if he is planning on going to the Canaanites planet.
I'm on a 10-year exchange group waiting list.
Patty is also on a waiting list, but every time they announce a new trip, the quota completely fills up. So in the meantime, while she's waiting, she's going to look more into the book and learn as much as she can. But so far, she hasn't figured out much more about the book, because the symbols on the front are their equivalent of capital letters, meaning that the symbols inside the book don't match the rest of it, but she's still hopeful that here soon she will finally be able to decipher the rest of it.
Well, more power I gave up trying a month ago.
The wait may have been long, but the day has finally arrived for Mr. Chambers to begin his 10-year trip. With only 3 minutes before they set off, Patty comes running through this crowd, trying to get Mr. Chambers' attention. As he's standing on the staircase, he turns to look at her as she's yelling at him because she has deciphered the rest of the book.
To serve man, it's a cookbook.
Immediately, the shock washes over him as he tries to make his way off the stairs, but it's too late because a Canaanite is already there, pushing him back and lifting the stairs up, sealing the ship and sealing his fate. As the ship then takes off, we pick back up at the beginning of our story with Mr. Chambers trapped in this room. We find that he still has not eaten as some food arrives to his room, with one of the Canaanites telling him that he needs to eat. But instead, he picks up the plate and throws it in the floor. It's this action that causes one of the Canaanites to duck into his cage, pick up the food, look at Mr. Chambers and tell him that he needs to eat.
We wouldn't want you to lose weight.
After the Canaanite leaves his cage, Mr. Chambers is once again left alone with us. But this time he looks right at us and asks if we are still on Earth or if we're already trapped with him on the ship. Really though, it doesn't matter, because sooner or later, all of us are going to be on the menu.
All of us.
And it's with this warning that he then turns, grabs his plate, and begins eating, just as Serling sums up everything that has happened with his closing narration.
The recollections of one Michael Chambers.
Or more simply stated, the evolution of man going from dust to dessert. The metamorphosis from being the ruler of a planet
To an ingredient in someone's soup.
It's tonight's bill of fare from the Twilight Zone. And with that, we can finally answer the question of how good is this twist by starting with the story. And we have to keep in mind that all of this is being told to us from Mr. Chambers' perspective as he recounts everything that has happened. And that most likely he is the only person on that ship and one of very few on Earth that knows the truth of what is really happening. That all along these Canaanites were creating the perfect environment to grow their own food. No more worries about war or keeping the lights on or even where the next meal would come from. Everyone on Earth being taken care of to ensure that they are a prime source of meat for the Canaanites and most likely other beings throughout the rest of the galaxy.
We wouldn't want you to lose weight.
But in the beginning, many humans find it difficult to believe that these Canaanites are only there to help, so they continually question their motives. It's this alien idea of somebody wanting to help without needing anything in return that is eventually accepted by all of mankind because it was coming from a race of aliens. In the end, for all of them to be right to question the Canaanites, even if they did greatly help humanity, but now it's too late.
Because sooner or later, will all of us be on the menu?
It's the horrific recollections of a man who has found himself trapped and without hope, holding on only long enough to give us a warning of what is coming, and then giving in and eating his feed. It's definitely one of the more terrifying episodes of the Twilight Zone, with a reminder that we shouldn't just trust a stranger because they come bearing gifts and tell us that we should trust them.
We ask only that you trust us.
The way that the whole story builds up from suspicions about the Canaanites to optimism from all of their help leads us to see that the Canaanites have been one step ahead this entire time, causing the twist to work really well, and leading me to give it a high 98. And for our second category, we have acting, and how well does this actor pull off the twist, and Lloyd Bachner does amazing throughout the whole episode. From the positivity that he has about the Canaanites before everything happened, to the sheer despair that he has of knowing his fate afterwards. And it's also definitely interesting of having him speaking directly to us, and honestly it feels like a twist in itself as far as the Twilight Zone goes, but I'll leave that one alone. Then we also have Susan Cummings' delivery of the famous line,
To serve man, it's a cookbook.
which is even more memorable because of how she says it and the way that Mr. Chambers reacts in this moment. But of course, the standout for this episode has to be Richard Kiel as the Canaanites and Joseph Ruskin as the voice of the Canaanites.
Our own methods of communication are mental rather than verbal.
Because it's really interesting to have Richard portray every one of the Canaanites throughout the episode, and for them all to have the same voice, it just makes it feel even more alien to us. But outside of that, there's really not much more to talk about when it comes to the acting. Of course it's good, but it's not the best that we've ever seen, so I have to give it an 82. For a third category, we have predictability, and this is what we've been looking for. The twist does everything perfectly when it comes to predictability. It's surprising the first time. The whole episode is recontextualized around this new idea that we know going in on a second watch, and then you pick up on the little details that stand out about how the Canaanites are one step ahead on the third, fourth, and so on watches. I mean, the title of the episode is To Serve Man, and yet we do what Mr. Chambers does and just assume that it's positive when he first learns the title of the book.
I'd call that a reasonably altruistic phrase.
But even though we know something clearly went wrong from how the episode starts, the Canaanites do so much good before the book title is ever revealed. Think about it, the episode starts in a bad situation, and then we go back to the beginning with all of the suspicions around the Canaanites. But then the Canaanites prove that they really are there to help by helping humanity. Then in the middle of the episode, we get the reveal of the book title To Serve Man, with more proofs from the Canamints that it must mean to help man, all the way to the end of the flashback where it's revealed that we misinterpreted serve because it's been a cookbook this whole time, bringing us back to Mr. Chambers in a bad situation that is way worse than what we ever thought to begin with. The twist is right in front of us and hidden all at the same time, with Mr. Chambers even comparing humans to cattle right when the Canamints first landed.
We milled around like frightened farm animals.
From the way the Canamints answer questions during the lie detector test, to even the looks on their faces when they're weighing their food before it gets on the ship, it all makes so much more sense on a second watch. All of it's just perfect and exactly what we've been looking for when it comes to predictability, and that's why I have to give it the first 100. And for our fourth category, we have satisfaction, which is how memorable and satisfying is the twist for the audience. And not only is this the second highest rated episode of The Twilight Zone, but it's also the most requested and quoted by all of y'all in my comments. To the example that I keep in my notes for this category of what's in the box? It's so memorable and it hits so hard that I completely understand why so many of you kept yelling it at me in the comments. And this twist also has the power of the Canamints behind it, and they are just as memorable as Haley from the last episode. They're so well designed that you know I had to use them in the thumbnail. It's just so good, and even the music that hits the moment that Mr. Chambers realizes this makes it so much better. It's so memorable and satisfying, and from here on will have me screaming, "It's a cookbook!" anytime that I see one. So you know that it can't be anything less than a perfect score of a 100. And for our final category, we have the Poltergeiger, which is the most important because it's my opinion. Now I have a confession. I'm not sure if I had ever seen this episode before until it was recommended to me in the first video of this series. And somehow it wasn't spoiled for me, which means I got the pleasure of experiencing this twist for the first time here recently. And while I did figure out what to serve man really means before the reveal, it was only one scene before it happened. But I did know that there was some kind of twist going into the episode, and I've become pretty good at figuring out what the twist is before it ever happens. That's just what happens when you analyze twist all the time. For example, two things I hadn't watched until here in the last few months was The Others and Haunting of Hill House, which I'm still on episode 6, please don't spoil anything else for me. But I figured out exactly what was going on in both of those at the very beginning of the show and the movie. But I would guess that it's because the title of the cookbook isn't revealed until halfway through the episode that I didn't have very much time to even figure it out anyway, which means that I just got to enjoy the twist even more. All around, this was a good time for me personally, and I'm sure you'll agree with my score of a 92. Bringing the total out to a 94.4 and landing it in second place on our search, but it's also the final piece of the puzzle that we need to figure out what is the greatest twist in all of horror. Because Perchance to Dream gave us a perfect score for our story, and Nothing in the Dark showed us what perfect acting looked like. And now with To Serve Man finally showing us what we've been looking for with predictability, and Eye of the Beholder having a perfect score for satisfaction, and the Poltergeiger being maxed out by playtest, meaning that we now know exactly what we are looking for in every category to find the greatest twist. And that's the reason that in the next video we're going to look at a twist that I compare so many others to, where we will be headed to a motel in the middle of Nevada with 10 strangers to solve the mystery of which one of them is a killer in identity. But until then, I am curious what you think is the greatest twist in all of horror media. I'm talking comic books, YouTube ARGs, creepypastas. There's so many twists out there that we still need to look at. And for all of you that have already left your recommendations down in the comments, I thank you so much. And I also have to thank all of the channel members, from Stuart Downing Gambit Wolf, Gemma Grumlig, and Jake McMillan, to Jameis Huper, Slycraft725, and Vivi. I thank you all so much for supporting me directly. And thanks again to Incogni for sponsoring this video and helping out the channel a ton. And an extra thanks for anybody that signed up using my code PolterGibbst. And as always, I thank you for watching and all of the support that the channel has had over the last few months. It's been amazing. And I hope that if aliens do show up to the planet to eat all of us, that you know you can still trust me by taking my hand, having an extra blessed day, and I'll see you in the next one. There is such a huge storm outside. Or if we're already trapped on the ship with him. That was so close. I don't know, it might work, it might be fun. Then again, there might be a boom right behind it.